Hey everybody, this is James Hernandez and welcome to a brand new video, and today I'm going to be doing another movie review. And for today's video I'm going to be reviewing is that I'm going to be reviewing another shark movie since it's already summer. And today's movie I'm going to be reviewing is Jaws 3. Now, Jaws 3 is the third installment of the Jaws franchise, and the movie is directed by Joe Alves, who was the producer of the first two Jaws movies. And the movie stars Dennis Quayle, Bess Armstrong, John Putch, Lea Thompson, as well as the late Louis Gossett Jr. So yeah, this is the third installment of the Jaws franchise that no one has asked for, because why would they make a sequel to Jaws? I have no idea, but they exist. So anyways, let's talk about the story of this movie. So this movie actually takes place in SeaWorld, and the shark is actually starting to terrorize the guests in SeaWorld, and it's up to Michael Brody, played by Dennis Quayle, and his marine biologist girlfriend, played by Bess Armstrong, to stop the shark and save SeaWorld once and for all. So I actually had a very strange relationship with this movie, and I'm going to explain why. Because I discovered like one of the Jaws movies like when I was at Blockbuster, like when me and Dad went to Blockbuster years ago, and strangely enough, this was actually my first introduction to Jaws, even before I watched the first one. Yeah, I am not joking, because usually like when it comes to like movies, sometimes like there are times like where the sequels are technically like the first time I was like introduced to like one of the most like successful or even like one of the most unnecessary franchises of all time. Like, you know, Jaws was one of them, and even Child's Play. Like the first Child's Play movie I watched was Child's Play 3 before I got into the Child's Play franchise. And the same goes for Freddy and Jason when I was first introduced in Freddy vs. Jason before I watched both the Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th franchises. So technically Jaws 3 was actually the first Jaws movie I watched, even way before I watched the first one. Now, before I share my thoughts on this movie, I just want to let you guys know that I did review two Jaws movies on my channel 2 summers ago. The first Jaws movie, if you guys have seen my review for it, it's no question and no doubt that the first Jaws movie is indeed a classic, and it still is a summer blockbuster today. And it's the first movie where I gave it a 10 out of 10. As for Jaws 2, while it's definitely not as good as the first one, I think it's a decent sequel, and it is also unnecessary, but at least it does have some good stuff in it, and Roy Scheider, despite that he doesn't want to be in the second movie, really still does a good job. And I think Jaws 2 is a decent sequel, just not as good as the first one, so I give the second Jaws movie a 6. So as for Jaws 3, what do I think of Jaws 3? Now here's the thing. It's very divisive and very debatable towards fans of thinking like which Jaws sequel is the worst between this one or even Jaws the Revenge. But I'm going to share my thoughts on of what do I think of Jaws 3. Now here's the thing. I don't hate Jaws 3 at all. Is it a good movie? No, it's not. But do I had a good time watching it? Yeah, because I thought Jaws 3 does have some really good things about it. I'm going to start with the positives, and then I'm going to go with the criticisms, because I know there's a lot of criticisms with this movie, because this movie does had its really terrible effects. But I'm going to save that. So let's start with the positives. So what I really like about Jaws 3 is that I like that it took place in SeaWorld instead of Amity Island, because there are times like where movie sequels, especially with the third installments or even like further installments, actually takes place like somewhere like in a different location. So when this movie takes place in SeaWorld, I thought it was very interesting. I like the setup of SeaWorld when you get to see like the marine park itself, and you see some of the marine mammals like dolphins and whales and beluga whales and many types of other fish, which is actually really cool. And I thought the setting for SeaWorld is really nice. And as for the characters, while the characters may not be as memorable or as iconic as the three main characters from the first movie, but I think the characters in this movie are okay, and I think they're decent. Like Michael Brody, right here, is actually played by Dennis Quayle. Dennis Quayle's performance as Michael Brody is fine, And even though I think he's definitely not as like as memorable or as iconic as his father, Chief Brody, played by the late Roy Scheider, but I think Dennis Quaid's performance was fine enough. And I really like that he works at in SeaWorld with his marine biologist girlfriend, played by Bess Armstrong, and these two actually do have like a really nice chemistry with each other of like taking care of the animals, and also got to make sure that like since when they heard that the shark is entering the park, they had to work together to stop the shark from eating the guests. And that's what's been like going on throughout the entire film, especially like and during the film's climax. And I think the one character that I also really like in this movie that actually is her film debut, and that is Kelly, played by Lea Thompson. Now, if you guys are very familiar with Lea Thompson, this is technically her first film debut before like she was best known for being in the Back to the Future trilogy as Marty McFly's mother, which I never seen Back to the Future, which that's a hot take. But I also have seen her like in other movies, like she was in Howard the Duck, and she was in All the Right Moves with Tom Cruise, which I actually heard of, and she was also in she also made a cameo appearance in The Little Rascals. If you guys did not know that, even I didn't know that because back then, like when I was young and I watched like one of these old movies like from the 90s and the 2000s, I didn't know like who were the actors on or the actors or the actors are until today. So, and I really like Lea Thompson as Kelly in this movie because her character is actually a water skier, and she's also the love interest of Sean Brody, who is Michael's youngest brother. And the scene where they actually have their romance together is actually quite nice. And I really like the scene like where Michael and his girlfriend Catherine, who is actually a marine biologist, they actually like play a prank on those two when they were having their alone time, and they basically have fun with each other. And it actually does look like they're having a great time with this movie, even though like Jaws 3 isn't quite a good movie, which is not. But it does have some good stuff in it. Like I mentioned, like SeaWorld is really nice. I like the Brody brothers, and I like their girlfriends. I thought they were really good, especially Lea Thompson, who played Kelly, who was in Back to the Future, and of course Howard the Duck. So it really does have some really good stuff in it. So I actually really do appreciate the film for at least trying to do something different instead of like repeating like the stuff from the previous films. Now, as for the deaths of in this movie, so let's talk about the shark deaths. Now, the shark deaths in this movie can be quite of a mixed bag because there were times like where the movie, when it shows us the shark attacks, it's definitely, it can be violence, but at the same time like it can be like way too safe, which I was like not a huge fan of. Like if you guys have seen my review for the first two Jaws movies, like I thought the deaths in the first movie is actually very suspenseful, and it really does give you the creeps. Especially at the beginning of the first movie of Chrissy's death is still terrifying. Even Alex Kinner's death in the first movie was also horrifying. And the first movie actually did a good job with his deaths. As for the second movie, it really feels like it really does like edit the shark deaths, because there are some like moments where the second movie does have his like a real life shark footage, and you really don't see the carnage, which I felt like the second movie feels like way too rated G, which is strange because this was like back in a time where PG movies really do get away with stuff that is not really for PG audience. But this one actually does have a mix of both. Like the one that actually terrifies me when I first watch it on TV is when this man, I think his name is Overman Shelley, I hope, or Shelby, I hope I'm saying his first name right. He was about to close the gate when it was during dusk, during dawn, and then he turns around twice when he tries to lock up the gate, and usually it was just a fish. But then when he turns around the third time, that's where the shark pops out of nowhere, and he basically just eats him. And then I saw the blood, and I was like, "Whoa, my God!" Even like when the shark actually roars at him before that guy meet his death, that actually really did scare the crap out of me when I first saw it on TV. Even still to this day, it may not be as scary or as suspenseful as the first movie, but it did got me the chills when I first saw this on TV. Even when I rewatched this film on DVD, and even the other deaths, like where I kind of felt like it was lame, was there was a scene like where those two thieves that were trying to like what they're doing, like stealing something from the water, so they had to get like, I don't know, like $1,000 or something, and they usually get attacked by the shark off screen when they actually one of them actually enters the water, and then you don't see like how the shark eats them, but the shark actually eats them off screen. And as for the other death, it was during the climax. Now that one is actually really funny because it was actually from this guy who was actually a scuba diver in a red scuba diver suit, and he was like trying to fight the shark, and then he uses like some, I think it's a nail pull thing. I think he's using. I could be wrong, but he actually aims at it. Kind of looks like he's about to cast a spell on the shark, and I was just like, dude, this is not Harry Potter. Like, what are you doing? And then he actually pokes the shark on the nose, and then he starts hitting the shark with the camera, which I was like, really? Like, I thought like the way how he hit the shark was so pointless. And then he actually like grabs like the shark actually grabs the guy in its mouth, and then the guy actually was struggling to get out, and it just looks so hilariously bad. So it just looks so not terrifying. It just looks hilarious. Now, as for the final death, which I'm going to be talking about now, it was during like when the shark actually broke the control room, which that effect looks so bad. And he actually grabs like the guy who is actually the nephew of what's his name? Hold up, guys. It's Louis Gossip Jr.'s character, and he basically just like left the guy to die while he actually thinks the woman is more important than the guy that he works for him, which it was so freaking stupid because the guy that he works with was actually his nephew, and he just left his nephew to die. And I'm like, dude, why would you do that? And then the shark grabs him, and he starts like, and he actually chew on the guy. Well, he didn't actually eat him because he didn't actually chew the whole scuba diver guy because of like he was stuck in his mouth and he tries to get out. So, and then he just like left his nephew to die. And I thought that was like the stupidest and dumbest move I have ever seen. Like, why would you left your nephew? Like, what does your nephew ever do to you, man? Like, what the hell? So then, yeah, and that was actually the final death from the shark perspective. Now let's talk about the special effects, because the effects, like I said, is not very good. There was like one of the worst special effects I have seen in this movie. Like, one is where Michael Brody and Catherine actually went into this yellow like submarine thing, and then like when it was playing the nice music when they're about to like when they were driving the submarine, it looks like something like out of like a very bad like PlayStation 1 game. Like way before the PlayStation 1 was a thing, because the PlayStation 1 came out around the 90s while this movie came out in I want to say 1983 or 1984. So, but that effect looks so terrible to the point where I was like, who edited that? Like, why would they, who actually edit like the scene where this yellow sub is actually floating when like this nice music was playing? The one thing I forgot to mention in the positive thing is that I thought the music in this movie, well, it may not be as good as the music as the first movie, but I thought the music is actually really nice. And it just feels good. And even like when the shark was coming after you, it is very suspenseful. It does sound pretty scary. Not as scary as the first one, but it's still pretty terrifying. But anyways, back to the criticisms with the special effects, because the effects was, like I said, was so bad. Even like the scene like where the shark basically attacked, well, not attacked, like he basically just like hits the glass like underwater during the Undersea Kingdom, looks so horrible, because like the shark actually looks like a very cheap action figure, and the way how the shark was swimming, it doesn't really look like or feel like the shark is swimming. It just looks like something like out of a computer generated toy, which I was like, what? Like, what is this? And even the worst special effect, which is so hilarious, which everyone has talked about, is this scene. Yeah, the shark actually broke the screen, was so bad, but it's also hilarious. And it's also so funny because when I was watching Dead Meat's channel about the kill count, this guy, which his name is escaping me, But he says that that scene right there is like something like out of the entrance of Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they played that music, and I was like, really? Come on. And even though the other special effect that looks so bad is this. Yeah, the way how the shark dies when Brody actually just like pulls the grenade on the dead corpse's hand in his mouth looks so terrible because there was like two shots of the shark that actually got his face exploded. It doesn't look too bad, but it definitely doesn't look great. But what's even worse is that like when the shark actually blows up to pieces, and then you see it's his jaws like floating like close into the camera since the movie actually did film in 3D. Which, by the way, I haven't seen this movie in 3D. Not the 3D where it was like where you experience an Avatar, but it's the 3D where we used to have like the red and then the blue glasses on that. So you guys remember those type of 3D? So yeah, the 3D looks so awful. It just like looks like one of the worst 3D effects I have ever seen. Even when I watch this movie when it's not in 3D, the effect still looks terrible. Now, so yeah, and this movie, well, I don't think this movie is as bad as many people will say it is. Like, am I saying it's good? No, but do I think it's fun? It can be entertaining. I mean, like, I did like the setup for, for SeaWorld, and I thought like one of the characters may not be as memorable, but I actually really liked them, especially Kelly, played by Leah Thompson. And also, I got to mention that the dolphins, Cindy and Sandy, are so adorable. I love dolphins. They're definitely like one of the cutest animals, and it definitely makes me like want to watch Flipper. Like if you guys remember Flipper. So yeah, I think the dolphins are really cute, and they don't really play like a really big part of the movie. They usually are just like the side characters, and they usually like help Michael and Catherine to like fight the shark, or even like they make sure that they're safe, and they're basically perform just like real dolphins, like in marine theme parks or even in the wild. So yeah, I think that's all I got to say about the dolphins. So so yeah, I thought the whole movie was just it's not good, but I cannot say it was the worst because I did include this movie on my top 20 favorite horror movies video, and I actually do consider this movie a guilty pleasure. So my only recommendation for this movie is that if you guys really have friends to come over and if you really want to watch like a movie where it has really bad effects but you really had a fun time with it, and if you really just want to hang out with your friends just to, have a good time with this movie while you guys might be, I don't know, on something, then this movie is actually, I kind of recommend this movie. But as a regular movie, I really don't. But as a dumb fun movie, I do think it's very entertaining. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to say that on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna have to give Jaws 3. I think for like a fun movie, I would give it a probably like an 8 out of 10. But as for like a regular movie, I don't want to give this movie the lowest score because there are things I really like about the movie. So I'm gonna give this movie a 6.3 out of 10. Is it a good movie? No, it's not. But do I have fun? It can be fun. I do have some moments where it can be really entertaining at times, and usually the special effects are awful, and the characters are fine. They're not unlikable, which is good. Like I think the characters are, like I said, are decent, and I do think that that Leah Thompson did pretty good in this movie before she was Marty McFly's mother in Back to the Future. At least I'll give the movie give a credit, just for her. And I do think that the setting in SeaWorld is pretty interesting. But other than that, I think this movie, like I said, it's definitely not a good movie. So I definitely will say watch at your own risk. So yeah, I think that's all I got to say about Jaws 3. So I'm trying not to be harsh on this movie because I know there's a lot of people that actually hated this movie, either this one or Jaws the Revenge. Jaws the Revenge will be a different story, which I might review that movie maybe next summer. We'll see what happens. But anyways, guys, this is so hope you guys enjoy my review for Jaws 3. This is my review, so I want to hear from you guys. What did you guys think of Jaws 3? Did you have a guilty pleasure feeling for this movie, or do you think the movie is terrible? Do you guys enjoy those like Jaws sequels that were unnecessary? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your opinions. And feel free to subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and turn on the notifications when I make brand new videos. And stay tuned for the next video that I'm going to be working on the next Characters Face Off episode. And I'm going to be making more videos for the summer. So stay tuned for those projects. And yeah, so I think that's all I got to say. So hope you guys had a great day. Take care of yourselves. This is James Hernandez, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.